Welcome back to the AgriCoach Wealth and Wisdom Podcast, the show for families who want more than just financial success. They want to grow and protect their wealth, strengthen family relationships, and maintain their success across the generations. My name's Ben Law. I'm the Financial Bloke, back with another solo mini episode. No guests, no fluff, just sharp, practical insights to help you build a high-performing family and a business that lasts for generations. So, let's dive in. Today we're going to dive into two invisible forces that I see quietly shape how most families on the land operate here in Australia, and how you handle them might be the difference between success and failure. So what are they? Well, they're fear and frustration. And today we're going to dive into why fear and frustration show up, what's really behind these emotions, and how to turn them into signals instead of stumbling blocks. So where do fear and frustration come from? And I want to start with fear. Fear is just the wiring in your brain doing its job. It's the stories your mind uses to keep you safe and sound. But here's the catch. Your brain was built for things like saber-toothed tigers jumping out of the bushes and tribal warfare, and it hasn't really evolved much since those days. Today, it treats a drop in cattle prices, a tough conversation with your kids about farm succession, an uncertain weather forecast, and even a rise in interest rates like a life or death danger. And this inevitably pumps out the chemicals into your brain that put you into fight or flight mode. Now, frustration, that's a different beast, but I've called it fear's loud cousin. It shows up when reality doesn't match your own expectations. You want the tractor to run and it won't start. You need your son to step up, but he won't. Someone left the gate open when you asked them to shut it. You keep investing in your team and they're just not getting it. But here's the truth. These emotions are both normal and healthy in many ways. But if you let them take control, then you're going to feel helpless and life is going to suck for both you and everyone around you. And what I suggest you do is what most high performers learn to do. It's to treat these emotions like dashboard warning lights, not roadblocks. So the next time you feel fear or frustration kicking in, I want you to pause just for a second and ask yourself, what's really going on here specifically? What am I actually afraid of? Really specifically again. And what expectation isn't being met? Now, I personally find writing down the questions and the answers on paper an absolutely powerful way to go from feeling really helpless and caught up in it to being in a really resourceful state. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not suggesting that you suppress these emotions. I'm suggesting you listen to them and learn to them. Now, for some of you listening right now, you might be thinking, well, fear, frustration, Ben, that's not actually me. But here's the thing. You're just calling it something else. You're saying things like, I'm just busy, I'm pissed off, or I'm just dealing with it, Ben. But underneath, your brain is in fight or flight or freeze mode, whether you realize it or not. You shut down in meetings, you snap at your kids, you delay decisions that really matter. And it's just fear and frustration, but wearing a different hat. Now, I'm all about knowing and then doing. And today I'm going to give you 4 tools that will help you work through fear and frustration, especially when everything's going sideways. These are, I suppose you'd say, battle-tested tools that I personally use and I've seen recommended by numerous experts around the world on mindset and high performance. So let's kick this off. Tool number 1, you've got to control your physiology first. So when fear or frustration hits, your body reacts well before your brain catches up. Your brain's flooded with fight or flight chemicals. Your brain stops thinking and starts reacting, which is a terrible and powerless state to be in. So first, you've got to reset your nervous system. I want you to inhale or breathe in for 4, hold it for 4, and breathe out for 6. And I want you to do that 3 times. It's what we call tactical breathing, and it's even used by special forces when they're under intense pressure in the field. Tool number 2, name it and tame it. What I want you to do is call whatever emotion you're feeling out. Now, it might be, I'm anxious because I don't know how this decision is going to affect my family or my kids. I'm angry because no one else seems to care as much as I do, etc. Naming the emotions moves them from the emotional brain or the amygdala to the rational brain, which is the frontal cortex. And it absolutely puts you back in charge. And again, for me, writing it down is like a superpower. Tool 3, flip the script. You've got an inner voice that talks in your head. I can have 5 conversations going on in my head at once, and it gets really noisy. But what you've got to do is focus on making sure your inner voice is being helpful rather than a hindrance. So I want you to stop at asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what's the next right move? Now, one question keeps you stuck. Why is this happening to me? And the other gets you moving. What have I got to do to get out of this? And it's really important to do this because you've got to keep pushing yourself out of fight or flight mode and back into, as I said, that frontal cortex where perspective and solutions are found. And why is this happening to me is going to put you straight into fight or flight. And tool 4, gratitude becomes your armor. When the pressure's on, especially if you manage to get into a bit of a negative spiral down and you end up in a negative feedback loop. Why me? Not this again. It always happens to me. They're all a bloody bunch of idiots. Gratitude becomes a pattern interrupter. And I want you to write down 3 things when this happens, right on the spot, that are going well, even if they're tiny. It helps your brain refocus on what's working rather than obsessing over what isn't. Now, if you want to become a high performer and lead a high-performing family, you've got to train for emotional fitness, just like you train for, say, a marathon or a footy game. And that's exactly what those 4 tools will help you do. Now, before we sign off, I've got one final thing I want to give you that's going to absolutely improve your life. It's not rocket science. I've said it 100 times before, but I think it's the most important thing for you. And that is choose your circle carefully. Because who you surround yourself with matters more than you think, because you become like the people you hang around the most, and negativity and drama are contagious, but so is courage. And so here's the bottom line. You don't get to avoid fear and frustration, but you do get to decide how to respond. And your response, especially when things are going absolute pear-shaped, is what will set you and your family apart. So the next time the pressure rises and you get into a fight or flight or into fear or frustration, I want you to practice pausing and ask yourself, am I reacting or responding? Because that small gap where you ask yourself that question is where high performers are made, in the pause between reaction and response. Now, if this episode hit home, the best thank you can give me would be to share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want to know more about what we do at AgriCoach, visit agricoach.com.au. Until next time, I'm Ben Law, I'm the Financial Bloke, and remember, it's more important who you are than what you've got. We'll see you next time.